and welcome to another episode of Circular Insights. My name is Lijin, and I am your host again for today. Now, I'm really happy to be sat with one of my friends, Sandhya Mohan, who is the CEO and co-founder of Naturaall Glass Solutions in Berhad. It's a company that's based in Malaysia, where they actually work on a very difficult waste stream, which is household and industrial glass. And what they're doing is transforming this glass into high performance building material. It's really interesting to get to know their solution because it sits at this intersection of circular economy, design innovation, and carbon reductions through their solutions. So before Sanya actually started this company, she was actually a network engineer in the telecoms industry in New Zealand. And we will hear more about that from her journey of how she actually embarked on solving this problem of glass waste. So welcome to our podcast, Sanya.
Thank you, Lijin. Thank you for having me on today.
Right. So let's get straight into it. And I think for the listeners who may not be as familiar with this whole issue of glass waste, maybe we can like explain it a little bit more. What is actually the pain that you are solving in relation to this?
All right. So glass waste in Malaysia is hardly recycled. We've got so many kinds of different glass waste. Like we've got your bottle glass, we've got building glass, we've got automotive glass, you've got your medicine bottles, and yeah, you've got industrial waste. So many different kinds of glass, right? But in Malaysia, glass is hardly recycled. It's hardly collected, and because I think it's heavy, it's bulky, it's a safety risk, and glass has such a low value among all the recyclables in Malaysia. So all of these factors put together, right, make it, I think, not a very viable recycling stream. And so lots of glass end up going to landfill. And the sad thing is, glass is actually made from sand. And when we crush glass, it turns back into sand. And this sand can be used for almost everything that we use regular sand for. So in fact, we keep mining sand when in fact we can use our mountains of glass to create sand, which can very easily substitute for this. And this is the basis of what Nature's doing. We really want to recover as much glass as we can and turn it into that sand, which goes back into construction material. So in summary, that's what we do. Um,
Hmm. Thanks for sharing that, Sanya. And I think like initially when people think about like, glass and then in the past, people used to have people collecting it and things like that. But as we transitioned into using more plastic, it seemed like glass is no longer as voluminous. But what you're sharing here is that it's still very much there as a waste stream. It's not just your sauce bottles or jam bottles and things like that. What are the types of glasses there that you guys handle?
Yeah, Lijin, I mean, there's so many kinds of glass that we don't even imagine glass is used for that sort of purposes. Like, for example, in rubber manufacturing, like your gloves, they
Hmm.
use glass as those formers. And when it comes to the end of life, say maybe in a few years, those formers become unusable and they have to swap them with new ones. And so that's tons and tons of glass that come from rubber manufacturing, which previously would have been thrown in the landfill. And so we
Mm.
get companies calling us, right? Because now everyone needs to be accountable for their waste, and especially when it comes to like industries and manufacturing, all these things are taken into account. And what we find is this sort of glass that is a byproduct of this industrial waste and stuff. It's dirty, it's contaminated, and it's no wonder that it's been sent to landfill. It's very hard to turn it back into the same kind of glass. So that's what recycling is, right? It's just turning it back into the same kind of glass. For example,
Mm.
bottles go back into making new bottles, and then your building glass would go back into making new sheets of building glass and so on. And so when the stream is really, really contaminated, um, it's virtually impossible to turn it back into its original form. And so
Mm,
previously that would just go to landfill. So what we do is we do accept even dirty, even contaminated, mixed with other kinds of waste. We do accept glass like that. And what we do is to use it, to turn it back into sand and aggregate and to use them into making construction materials, building materials.
mm, mm. And also, there's another layer of complexity as well because glass is actually quite bulky and fragile in its own. Just transporting that glass is probably something that's quite difficult already. Um, is that the case?
Yes, it is. It is quite a safety risk. I mean, when you're transporting tons and tons of glass, then it's okay because it comes in those big IBC tanks or big jumbo bags, which is all carried by the forklift and things like that. But I think the problem really is with household glass and your F&B glass and things like that because they tend to break. And
Mm,
then when it breaks in the pile, then the person handling it has to, really pick it out carefully and things like that. That's when it becomes a safety risk.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. All right. So then what is this solution that you have created then? When you talk about it being moved back in from, discarded glass back into the economy as a high grades of building material, what is this material?
So what we do is we get the glass ground up. First of all, we crush it into sand and aggregate, which is like bigger pieces of glass. And then they're all separated according to those sizes. And each size or a mixture of those sizes would go into producing different kinds of material. And what we have done here as a material development company is we have actually developed our own low carbon binder. So traditionally, these things like putting glass into cement and making it into things like bricks and paving blocks, they have been done. They have
Mm,
always been done that way. But the thing is, they use regular cement. And we really wanted to avoid the use of cement as well. So we've developed our own low carbon binder, yeah, which performs just as well or better than cement in some cases. And we use that and we mix the glass into the binder
mm,
and we produce them. It can basically go into a mold, which can be any shape. So we can produce like ventilation blocks, we can produce bricks, we produce basins, and tabletops. That's what we do at Natural. Yeah, so all of these different products have got their own way of being produced, their own way of being finished. But ultimately, what stands out is you can actually see the aggregate. You can see the shards of glass come through
mm,
from the material, which you won't find with any other building materials. But this one, you know that it's got a previous life. You know it's got a previous story because you can see that the glass comes through and it shines through. Some of it is polished and finished to that high level where you can see it's somewhat like terrazzo, where you
mm.
see those marble chips and they're being polished. But here we use recycled material. Yeah.
Wow, wow. So when you talk about building materials, there's these specific ones that you're focusing in, which is suitable for using the glass recovered sort of sand or aggregates to actually create that these products. But at the same time, what you just shared there is there's also the aesthetic value of it. It's not just about that strength and tenacity of the product, but there's actually that aesthetic beauty that this product provides as well.
Yes, absolutely. We really want to focus on that just to show that this material has had a life before. And this comes from a recycled material. And that's something that you see a lot with, I mean, even recycled plastic sheets or even bio-based sheets. You can see those speckles, you can see those things that tell you that these materials, they've come from something else. Yeah, and we really want to also make it aesthetic so that we can fit into those categories of, like, for example, interiors. And you want
Mm.
something that's beautiful, you want something that's shiny, but something that's also made with love and made with care and respect for the environment. And that's where our products would really sit in.
I really love that because very often when people think of recycled products, there's almost this misconception that it somehow is sort of like stripped down to the bare minimum. It
Yes.
looks cheap. It doesn't look abundant. It doesn't look sort of plush or wealthy in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not actually true. Um,
No, not at all, not at all. If anything, it doesn't, I mean, this is such a huge misconception that, I mean, even now we talk to people who think that because it's recycled, it's supposed to be cheap.
mm,
And I mean, it cannot be cheap because there's an extra layer. There's so many extra layers actually of processing of collection that's being done to turn that pile of waste into something that's usable. And that's something that so many people overlook. But I mean, in saying that, there's a lot of people who also appreciate when something's made from recycled source. Yeah, it just shows that you've done something out of the ordinary, and yeah, you're just doing it with respect for the environment, really.
And if other people are wondering whether or not there have been other types of recycled products, just sort of shouting out there, there's a lot of driftwood related furniture that is exceptionally good wood, but it's been recovered from being driftwood, or it maybe has been offcuts and things like that. So the wood sector is no sort of how to say unfamiliar territory with this sort of concept. We've also seen similar things like this even happen when it comes to the recovery of fireman hoses. Interestingly,
Wow.
there has been luxury brands that's been a brand that's been created to replace leather products with recovered fireman hoses that may no longer be safe to be used as a safety gear to have high pressure water pumped through it, but it definitely is very strong material that can be used for your luggages and things like that. And it's just beautiful to actually see the products that come out from it. So it's really amazing that even for glass, what we would think of something that is so fragile, so breakable, but that captures our imagination with how light travels through it. It captures so many different colors, can be reimagined, coming back into the building material world in a way that gives much more positive impact than just being left in the landfill and forgotten.
Absolutely. And I really, really look forward to that. I mean, we've got so many amazing innovators coming with so many materials which, I mean, we don't even think of. And it's really, really amazing. I have great respect for these innovators, really. And to get the product commercialized and out there, wow, wow, it's just amazing. Yeah.
Mm. So if I heard you correctly, the current products that are being applied is in the interiors of the building, but also in some exteriors as well, like the sorry, it was the ventilation. Yeah, did you mention just now?
Yes,
Um,
ventilation box. So what we do is we mostly create products for interiors, not for structural purposes. So
mm,
even if it was placed outside, it would be for non-structural purposes, just like a decorative wall. We
mm.
do ventilation blocks for that. And then it's mostly for interiors here.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting that even ventilation blocks is something that you all would have considered because I think how a lot of buildings are built today, it doesn't really consider how the ventilation flows in and out in terms of at least heat and things like that. I'm sure for safety purposes, there's still a lot of sort of cause in there that I mean the effort that's put into that. But when we start looking into how the modern building traps a lot of heat, how we rely so much on active cooling with air conditioning and things like that. It's really
Yeah,
great, yeah, to see
yeah,
aesthetics
yeah.
blending with functionality.
Yes, and ventilation blocks are still very popular in Malaysia. They've been a part of Malaysian architecture, Malaysian houses, really,
Mm.
from back then. And I'm so, so happy to see them coming back again. we've got so many like just super aesthetic ways of placing the vent blocks, and even the designs of ventilation blocks. They are really, really creative and just brings out. I think it's a very, very integral part of Malaysian houses. We want that ventilation to come in and we want to block out the sunlight. So yeah, I'm really happy to see vent blocks coming in again and being accepted.
Especially with our climate increasingly getting hotter in some places, I believe this is probably something that can be deployed even to many other places as well, where this passive ventilation can help cool
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm curious actually, Sanya, what started you on this journey? Why did you decide to solve this pain? What inspired you?
Oh, it's been a long journey. So in Malaysia, we actually established the company back in 2017.
Mm,
And the first couple of years was really getting on ground and studying what's going on with the glass here, how glass is managed, what are the streams of glass, who are the big players, and establishing those early relationships and
mm,
things like that. And then, I mean, after that, COVID hit. So things kind of went quiet for a while.
mm.
But what really got us started on this journey is before this, I lived in New Zealand with my partner. And when we were there, we had a Malaysian restaurant. We ran this Malaysian restaurant. It was,
Ooh.
yeah, it was a small restaurant in a beach town. And we would have all our regulars coming in, people who just lived in that beach town. And people were so nice and friendly, and everyone spoke to us. It was just really nice community feeling over there.
Mm,
And because everyone knew each other's story and we would talk and exchange all of that experiences and things. So there would be a few regulars who actually introduced us to a group of innovators. So before that, I never even knew such thing existed. But these
mm,
guys were doing amazing things out of waste, like turning plastic waste into bags and uh, yeah, just doing recycling tires and recycling all sorts of things. And I think deep down, because we are also environmentalists, and I mean, we didn't know it at that time, but something, something just sparked, and you know, that connection that just sparked us like, oh God, if we were going to do something, it would have to be something like this. And then, I mean, with all the people that we met over there, we got connected to one guy who was doing glass recycling in the
mm,
small beach town that we were in. And his business was actually supported by the local council. They gave him a piece of land which was right by the landfill, and that's the glass drop-off place. And all the glass that's been segregated. I mean, the collection system is just top notch over there. So people have got a separate bin for glass waste,
mm,
and that bin is filled only with glass, and it's collected by a separate collector who brings it to the collection point for glass. So
mm,
glass is being separated from the other waste. And I mean, each recyclable has got its own collector and its own place where it's going to. And the recycling system is just top over there.
mm,
So when we went to that place where he was processing the glass, I think that was a big, it was piles of things. And to see it all being collected and recycled and turned into useful items, that was really an eye opener. And
mm,
so we came back to Malaysia shortly after that, and we knew that this is what we wanted to do. And so yeah, spent the time in terms of studying the landscape, studying what was going on with glass recycling, and yeah, just trying to grow it from there. I mean, in the early days, we didn't get much support because I think pre-COVID, we didn't have much of an ESG wasn't even a thing.
mm,
Eco-friendly wasn't a thing. Eco-friendly wasn't a feature. Everybody would ask us, what's the benefit of your product? Is it cheaper? Is it cheaper? Is it
mm,
cheaper? That's all. And so I think it's changed a lot from then.
mm,
And in the last 4 or 5 years, things have really changed. In the last couple of years, we see so much of support, so much of and acceptance towards green technologies and green products. And it's easier to have those conversations. It's
Mm,
easy because people know recycling, people know green products, and yeah, I think it's just made things a whole lot easier in the last few years.
mm, mm. And what do you think would have been like a significant milestone that you finally reached, that you felt like, yeah, we're sort of on the way now. Obviously, what you described there, there's been a change in, not only national policy towards favoring more of these things. I mean, just to name a few specific to national, there was, changes that happened in the waste segregation type of policies. Then, of course, there was the mandatory sustainability reporting that actually came on board. Before that, there was
Mhm.
already green government procurement policies where government officers or departments would have to reach a certain percentage of procuring green products. So this is sort of like an onlay of various policy and regulatory things that have changed this sort of um, business landscape, I'll say, or the acceptance level of green products. And it's not
Mhm.
only in Malaysia, actually globally, we've also seen an explosion in this direction, especially with the global adoption of the sustainability financial disclosure standards, in addition to various regulation, let's say in EU, on various waste stream, carbon taxes, etc. So it's just sort of raised the whole conversation in this direction. Investors are getting on board. Banks are becoming curious about this. And a lot of technology providers that have been laboring for the years before have sort of been waiting for this sort of perfect moment, perfect storm moment for things to click.
Yeah, yeah. In a way, yes, that is so true. And I think we are just getting started, and there's a lot more to look forward to and work towards. So yeah, I'm glad that the shift is happening now, and I'm glad for all the things that have happened along the way. But for us, a big milestone would be just this year when we put in the patent this material, the high
Mm.
performance composite material made from recycled glass. We've patented it this year, and
Ooh.
that is the biggest milestone for us. That is really, we know it's serious. It's something that fits into the market. It's something that carries value, and yeah, I'm really, really proud of that for us.
Wow, congratulations on getting to that step. It's really amazing to hear.
Thank you.
I think for the audience who may not be familiar with patents, patents is actually something that gives a certain degree of recognition, I would say, to products. Sanya, would you mind like maybe giving a very quick sort of explanation why this is really significant in this sense?
All right. So with the patent, it essentially protects our innovation. It says that, I mean, we discovered this thing, and now this thing is kind of like it is our own invention. And so nobody else, in to some degree, nobody else would be allowed to use this formula to produce products that is are proprietary to us. It's only us who can use this formula, and companies that we license it to, meaning companies who pay us a royalty every year to be able to use this license to manufacture the products, can be out of Malaysia or anywhere else.
Mm, mm. And for designers, this is an amazing step because it also sort of comes to the point where scalability becomes like possible. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
because
yes.
it's
And
repeatable. It's
exactly, exactly. And that's something that we're working towards because for now we are in a boutique manufacturing plant. We do everything in small quantities. And so, of course, because a lot of it, like the polishing, to bring out that terrazzo look, to bring out the look of the glass in the material, to give it like a marble-like finish, that's done by hand. And
mm,
it's somewhat like polished concrete. You've got many, many layers of polishing to be done. That's all done by hand. It's it takes time and it takes a skilled person to be able to do that. And I mean, with scalability, we're looking at producing it faster, more efficiently. And then, of course, we also can bring the price down because, I mean, it's the economy of scale, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a journey, something that we're really looking forward to. And the main thing is once we are able to produce it at scale, to be able to sell it at the volume that we need, we can, make a decent profit as well while keeping the cost low. That's when we start to see the product really being used in those bigger projects and bigger developments. Yeah, for now, it's all boutique. It's very small scale. We work with those interior designers who do small projects and do homes, restaurants, F&B, things like that.
Mm. Mm, and definitely there's a sort of runway that needs to be happening because a lot of people think like, oh, how come, sustainable products are still that much more expensive, etc. But then, as you rightly pointed out there, there's a level where you need to get to in order for it to reach that scalability, in order for, the economies of scale to kick in. And we often forget, how much actually the products, how much time the current products that we have in the market has actually used in order to get to this level of economies of scale.
Mm,
And at the same time, also, it brings up another thought in my mind, whereby, when things are, I won't say handcrafted artisan only, but when they require a certain degree of care to produce, the recipient of those products are also treat that asset very differently. And there's almost
yes.
this a psychology in that when you don't pay attention. Um, I'm borrowing that from the coaching
Mm.
community, but very often
Right.
I think applies to even physical products as well.
Yeah, that is so true. I've never heard that before. So yeah, that makes so much sense. Yep.
Yeah,
And only some people appreciate it. Not it's not for everyone. Definitely not. And yeah, for the people who appreciate it, it is a bit.
mm, mm. And for those of you out there who think that that is not going to change the world, just look at how bubble tea, Labubu dolls have changed the world for just the people who
Mm.
appreciate it. um, Even and even looking at the wider aspect, I just saw a picture that day of a conference that was happening, and there was an entrepreneur who stood up and was talking about this bubble tea craze that has come and gone and come again in very much in Asia, but even in other parts of the world as well, and the environmental impacts of that, from all the amount of plastic packaging, straws, that
Yeah.
go in even from the health
Mm-hmm.
perspective of how much sugar is entering the diet. There's various sustainability topics that's linked to products and services that we use on a day-to-day basis. So when we really look into circular economy thinking, I think one aspect that resonates very strongly with me is that understanding of care that flows through an entire life cycle of a product that we use and touch and see on a day-to-day basis. If there was just that much more care and attention to what it is, we can actually build in a lot more positive impacts from what we utilize, instead of just trying to minimize all the bad stuff from it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so
absolutely.
that's amazing. So Sanya,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what's next for you all? What's the if you had a magic wand, what would you want most to happen in the coming few years in relation to this pain that you're solving? Yeah. What would you do?
Wow. Legion, just like what you said, if I had a magic wand, I would wish for every consumer to become a conscious consumer.
Oh,
Just start asking, what is it made of? Whether it's food, whether it's cosmetics, whether it's, a basin, just ask, what is it made of? And so many times we just take all our products for granted. We think, I mean, you don't know if you don't ask. And just turn the package around, just read the ingredients. Once you get into the habit of reading the ingredients, I swear you will start questioning everything. And that's the first step to becoming a conscious consumer and making that right choice. Because if
Mm,
you don't understand how your products are made, or how much of natural resources are taken for that thing to happen, then it's like ignorance is bliss. We just don't know. And once you start asking, you are not stupid. And then you can start to make those right choices. And that's what I wish. If I had a magic wand, I would wish for every consumer to be a conscious consumer.
mm, mm. And there is a bit of a devil's advocate here that I would challenge you as well,
Okay.
Sanya. Just a bit of sparring for fun. That there is two ways I think that people can approach that becoming conscious. And unfortunately, the way that the media communicates sustainability for the last probably 50 odd years or so has very much been on a guilt trip, whereby it's very judgmental. Yeah, and
Mhm.
therefore it almost feels uncomfortable to some extent to be questioning all those ingredients, or even questioning what is it made from, how much does it produce? Because the next question that pops up in their mind, so what should I do about it? Am I going to be judged? And if we stop there, then chances of us taking no action is going to be really high, right? Because nobody wants to be judged. And so I think there is a second approach to this. I would love to hear your thoughts on it, Sanya.
Mm.
That
Wow, that is really interesting. Yeah. I mean,
the second
fear of
approach,
being judged. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I'll just quickly mention the second
Sure, sure,
approach,
sure.
which is that when we question, if we come from a place of care and we come from a place of sort of certainty that love is at the core of it, not only love to one's own body, but also in terms of this bigger love to all things around, um all beings around, then the knowledge that something doesn't work out isn't a judgment. It is an invitation for a different decision. And even if you can't make that decision immediately or act on it immediately, it doesn't mean that you um are ignoring it or not being conscious to it, right? It's just therefore planning it out. What is it that you can do? And but if we get stuck in that judgment loop of things, fear, shame, blame, bit of guilt, I think it's very dangerous or slippery slope to become conscious, because then it causes panic and anxiety about, I actually don't know what to do about it because I
Mm.
don't really know what is the alternative for it. But if we were to approach it from a different approach, where to apply care into this, to understand so that when an opportunity arises, and I also keep my mind open to those opportunities, then I can actually, make those actions, make those decisions when they count most. I don't know what do you think about that, Sanya?
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. The point of being a conscious consumer is not to, end up in shame or blame, anything like that. Being conscious simply means being aware. So you just know. Like when you ask what your products are made of, you know. You might not be in a position to, make that switch right away.
Mm,
Or I mean, it really depends on the thing that we're talking about. If it's something easy enough, then it might be just a matter of saying, I don't need this anymore. I'm not
mm,
going to buy it because I don't need it in my life anymore. Knowing how it's made, knowing what happens to it when we throw it away, and it's just a matter of excluding it, cutting it off. I don't need it anymore, and
mm,
that's part of being conscious as well. And if you're not in a position, if someone is not in a position to make that switch, I mean, being conscious is just about knowing what am I doing right now. And I mean, we live in a day and age where information is at our fingertips. So research can be done. We can even, ask AI what are the alternatives to this, and just stay informed so that, like you said, when the opportunity does arrive, you know what you're going for. You know the switch that you're making, and you are prepared for it, and people are informed. Being a conscious consumer simply means like being aware, just being informed. It doesn't mean you need to swap out everything and just buy all organic stuff or buy completely sustainable stuff. I mean, it's not about buying more. It's about, do I need it or what are my options? Just staying informed. That's what I
Mm.
feel.
And it really links back to what you were saying about, even just having those conversations becoming easier, is already a huge step for businesses like yourselves that you have put in the effort to come up with solutions to solve these various challenges in the sustainability realm, to even have that easier conversation to help people understand their options, is already a big step forward, by having these
Yeah.
conscious consumers. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and it also helps that people have a like community or people that they can talk to these things about, because
Mm,
not everyone accepts it, not everyone gets it, and that's absolutely fine as well. But at least the people who are pursuing sustainability have somewhere to go to have these conversations, and it just makes it easier.
mm. I love it when you actually mention the word community, because the first thing that popped into my mind was that, there are going to be some people that are like really, really good at, let's say, even creating the material. And then there are going to be some other people that maybe have excellent skills in bringing it to the industrial scale level, right?
Mm,
But if the
mm.
person that has the exceptional skills to bring industrial scale level does not realize that they have that role, to even apply it into these type of green products, then they may not actually go and pursue it at all, and they stick with a lot of traditional, conventional sort of manufacturings and things like that. And therefore, that awareness, that consciousness that you talked about just now just really prompted me to consider that actually all of us, regardless of whatever professional skills or roles or even personal hats or things that we wear, becoming conscious actually is a choice and an option for us to apply ourselves fully with all those skills and experiences into what we feel matters to us the most at that point in time. So, yeah, I
Yes,
really
yes,
love it that the
absolutely.
community is what enables you to actually get inspired, stimulated, somewhere you can talk to that you mentioned, that you can find that for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And there's no such thing as doing it alone. We always have people behind us. We have the people pulling us up. We have the people looking out for us. And yeah, the community is just so important.
I also love just now when you were saying that, it's not about just buying more stuff. There is also
Mhm.
the removing, right? Do I actually need something? And it really reminded me of something that we talked about to some participants in our circular transition program or the circular business blueprint in the past, to say that there are really only three things that you can do. Either you remove something, which you don't need it anymore, take it out, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
or you add in something because that is something that would generate so much more good value to it. And your binder that is, low carbon, able to do the job really well, allows the glass to shine through, I think is an addition in a way, right? But there's also about
Mm.
changing something whereby the way that you actually utilize something maybe can be delivered in a completely different way. So there's only really these three things, but being
Yeah.
aware of that possibility only comes when you're aware of what's actually happening. So I love how you actually sort of like just touched on all these different points there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you just completed the whole thing. These things, they just guide every single thing that, be it a product or be it our own selves. Yeah, it's just these principles that just guide everything. And I love how you look at it in a way that you can take it and apply it to this, you can also apply it to that. But yeah, that's really interesting, Ajin.
Oh, thank you. I almost feel like there's a playfulness to this whole thing. Like a lot of people think sustainability needs to be very serious and
No,
doom
no,
and
no,
gloom.
no. It
But there's actually
really
a
comes from
playfulness.
connecting. Yeah, it comes from connecting within yourself and connecting with nature, and just it doesn't sustainability is just so far from those check boxes that everything is made to look like it has to be by the book and it has to be like this. And now, I mean, with reporting with sustainability, that yes, companies, absolutely. But sustainability is also a way of life. And if we just stop, connect, connect with nature, connect within ourselves, and that's already growing that within you. And then you that eliminates the whole thing that we talked about earlier, like feeling that we're not good enough or being judged or shamed and things like that. It should never come from that place.
Mm, mm. In the contrary, actually, if you approached it from how you described it, it's very much about that curiosity of what you could do, right? That's that, like
Yeah,
that
yes,
looking
yes,
forward to what
absolutely.
you could do. And
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
then taking those actions in that direction will make it all the more satisfying as you
Yeah.
pursue the game. So,
Hmm.
Sanya, what would you need if someone would love to support Natural in your pursuits? Who do you need from the community? Who are you looking to further this mission that you have?
Well, in Malaysia, we are looking for generators of glass waste. So we really want to collaborate with, especially right now, solar panel companies. We want to collaborate with this in the construction industry, both to recover construction glass waste,
Mm,
as well as for putting in these low carbon building materials into places that would really make a difference and tell a story, and people can see these things being implemented in real life. So construction industry is one that we're really, really looking to build good connections with.
mm,
And ultimately, we also want to work with beverage distributors, F&B outlets, anywhere that would help us to recover that glass which is currently going to landfill. Yeah,
mm,
and we're also open to, talking to interior designers, architects, just those players in the construction industries, because the more we can get the product out, it means the more we can recover glass, and these things just go back into the circular economy to create more products which can be used again and again.
right. That's great to hear. I mean, it's for just a quick summary. There's the construction sort of people. There are those in solar panels. That there's F&B. That those anyone who is in the glass sort of recovery part that could supply that to you. Architects and interior designers as well. People that you're looking for. So where should they
Absolutely.
find you? Where can they find you, Sanya?
So I'm active on LinkedIn, so you can reach me on LinkedIn, Sandhya Mohan, or on our website, www.natural.com.
Mm. And if anyone is listening from outside of Malaysia, please don't feel that to feel discouraged that it's not going to be in your country. I think like at Circular Business Association, something that we always have been championing is that wherever there is the ready market, we want to actually pull together the ready suppliers as well. So if you are listening to this particular episode and you're thinking, oh, this technology would sound pretty good in my local area, please do reach out to us nonetheless. Even if not immediately, I truly believe that some point in time, paths may cross, different people might actually come together, and sparks will fly. So,
Um,
with that, Sanya, any last thoughts or comments that you'd like to share with our audience today?
well, thank you so much, Lee once again for having me here and for discussing all these things. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Sanya, for your time and also for sharing so much with us in this episode. Thank you also to all the audiences who's listening in to our podcast. If you haven't seen our previous episodes, please feel free to go to our YouTube channel, Circular Business Association. You can also access it through our website. We're also on Spotify. If you can click subscribe or to have the alarm button clicked so that you can hear it know when the next episodes are coming up, please subscribe. That would be really helpful for us. With that, I will see you in our next episode. Thank you again for your time and have a great day. Bye.